All righty. Thank you all for a jam-packed day. Very much appreciate it. This has been awesome. It's been super, super fun to get the whole crew together. We are now going to do our closing. We're going to try and make this very efficient so we can all head over to our happy hour and dinner together in like 15, 20 minutes. So quickly, we'll do a recap. We'll get each of our track leads to come up here and give a quick recap of their track. I know everyone didn't get to be everywhere at once. We'll do our best to make you feel like you were there. We're going to do a quick group retro, all collaboratively in a Google Doc together. Things you liked, things that we should make better, things we should change for next time. We read these, we adapt them. We have way fewer tracks in parallel this time. I know that's kind of crazy because it feels like we still have a lot of tracks in parallel, but we have fewer because that was a learning from previous ones. Want to say thank you to all of the amazing people who made this possible. And then we will take a group photo before walking over to Edge City together for dinner and other things. So that's our plan. We're going to try and get through it together real fast. First off, thank you all for joining us. It was a pretty awesome day. Some really great humans getting together, presenting their stuff. We are going to go through each of these wondrous tracks and share some of our top learnings, takeaways, and a quick recap so that people can use this as an index to then go dive much deeper into each of the tracks that happened. So starting with James. Come tell us your takeaways from Filecoin 101.
Thanks, Mike. Let's have the clicker. Thank you. Hey, everybody. It's my first FIL Dev Summit, and thoroughly enjoyed it. We had I've worked out that in order to have a great summit, you need great speakers, and we had a bunch of them. So thank you very much to everybody who did contribute. Molly kicked off with a super speed. That's supposed to be a zap emoji. It's come out as a question mark. Super speedy and informative introduction to Filecoin. Lots of information, and there were loads of questions afterwards. I really think we could have filled an hour. Nandit Mehra from Lighthouse, they did a high-level technical overview of Filecoin, also spoke about Lighthouse. Porter Stoll from the Filecoin Foundation talked about opportunities in the Filecoin ecosystem, and also did a very fun introduction of all the new faces in the room, whether they liked it or not. Claudia Rishu from Banyan shared insights and learning from her Filecoin development journey so far. Pooja Shah was talking about smart wallets on Filecoin and introduced Fern Wallet. Also something that generated quite a lot of buzz in the room and some questions. And finally, to finishing things off in style, Clara Sau did a quick summary of Filecoin 101 track that we went through, and a really informative summary of the thriving Filecoin community, which I know everybody was impressed with. Here we go. Track lens, it's more informational than getting information back, I'd say, but really good. I thought there was loads of people there, more than I thought there was going to be, and not just familiar faces. It was great to see some new faces as well. Folks are really excited about Filecoin and the pin in general, which I think is awesome. And I find this really cool, but I think I might be the only one. I'm easily pleased. The storage CEO was in the room and is hoping to work with Filecoin. That's the dude immediately below Molly's right elbow, which I thought was cool. Moving on, next steps, which I think we should do, is more comprehensive conceptual modules of node implementation, not just for SPs, but for all users of the ecosystem. This is actually something we get asked in the support channels in Slack quite a bit as well. So I think that would be a good thing to do. There are so much info and docs now. We've got docs all over the place. It can often make finding a starting point actually quite confusing. So I think we can do a better job of actually pointing people from specific places to the right place, make their lives easier. And we had a few questions about Filecoin's relationship with IPFS, which Molly fielded. I think we can do a better job of clarifying that as well. Again, something that we get asked a little bit in the support channels as well. I think it'd be good to take that forward a touch. That's it.
What?
Yeah.
Derek, James. Lauren, tell us all about Filecoin Smart Storage, a long track.
Yes. We had a lot of speakers, so I'm going to talk fast. We started with Matt, who opened with a deep dive on data availability not equaling data storage, and then the implications of that for Filecoin and PLN tech generally. Dan Mills discussed the state of the art in DA and requirements for archival blockchain storage. Matt Hamilton then went into the mismatch between Filecoin capabilities and developer expectations. It was interesting that it mirrored earlier Matt's observation about the difference between DA and data storage. Hannah then led a workshop exploring Filecoin's fit for different use cases, and Charles explained how Swan's decentralized ZK market is giving an opportunity to compute providers to perform Filecoin proofs. Then we went on with Raul, did a deep exploration of IPC's functionality and use cases. Nandit shared Lighthouse Storage's roadmap and potential decentralization paths, maybe using IPC in the future. Jenny from Fluent shared why they chose to build on IPC. Alejandro walked us through the path to fast financing on Filecoin. Brian Long discussed why they stored Solana archives on Filecoin and the problems they hit along the way. Then Steb led a workshop on end-to-end decentralized storage. Why not just use S3? We explored that in depth. And then Hannah finished up the long day with discussing the importance of deal brokering. Okay, track learnings and takeaway. This is just a couple of many, but if you view Filecoin narrowly as just like an L1 where SPs do proof of replication, then the use cases are quite limited. However, if we build up the decentralized services using IPC, such as aggregators and hot storage and compute networks, we could have a compelling offering with unique properties to answer why not just S3. Secondly, Filecoin is not a good fit as a DA solution as it's currently narrowly conceived in the market. There is a clear current fit for archiving blockchain as seen with the Solana case study, but even there's still some bumps on the path that need to be smoothed, such as finding SPs and indexing data. Next steps and follow-ups, we do need more teams exploring IPC to build those missing Filecoin services in a decentralized way, e.g. failure recovery, and then there has to be a deeper dive on-chain archival use case leveraging Solana case study.
Yep. Thank you, Lauren, and thanks to all our speakers.
Cool. Retrievals and allocators. We had a small group of people upstairs in the boardroom. We had a great set of talks. We had Miro kick us off, talking through the state of Spark as a retrievability compliance tool. Marta led a discussion about hopes, potential uses, state of Filecoin, where there's flexibility. In the afternoon, Galen laid out sort of state of allocators and the transition there, expectations, evolution of data cap allocation, timelines that the next steps are happening. And then we finished off with a talk from Axel around the economics and providing a model looking at how you can think about the utility of data cap multipliers in a retro PGF-like model. This is the logo of FIL, which is a new entity spinning out to help with tooling for Filecoin Plus, led by Marta, who many of you may know. Learnings and takeaways. So I think one of the things that we spent some time on was talking about governance that happens both in FIL Plus along with at the FIP level, and sort of how to think about that division and how to, where there has been friction there, and ways that we can align better. I think one takeaway is that there are better retrieval checking options out there. The transition to allocators as independent, more autonomous entities means that we can expect more differentiation and competition between allocators, and that there is a lot of unexplored flexibility that we have available to us to explore. Next steps. Crypto Econ Lab has been hosting office hours where there's been some discussion, and that will continue. So that's one next step if you want to get involved and find that modeling interesting. FIDL is going to start hosting some meetings to continue this broader discussion around tooling, compliance, how to evolve the program. And you can expect more announcements through March as allocators get spun up and get data cap, and the program continues to evolve. Woohoo!
Awesome. Tom, tell us all about FIL Retro PGF.
Cheers. Thanks, Molly. So today we kicked off FIL Retro PGF. We had a number of sessions. So it started with one in the morning, giving an overview of fund what matters, which was the big picture of why public goods funding is so important. We then had a specific example from the Duran team where Yolan talked about producing distributed randomness as a public good. Then after that, Steph from the Filecoin Foundation gave us an overview of all of the grants work that the FF are doing, which was great. Then we had Radical Drips, where Andrew showcased the usefulness of continuous drip funding. After this, Kevin Owocki from Gitcoin demoed Easy Retro PGF, which is software that makes running a Retro PGF round pretty much very easy. So that's absolutely fantastic, and we're going to try to use that. In the next session, Juan and I announced the first Retro PGF round for Filecoin, which is going to launch, which launched today and is going to start in March. So that's exciting. And then after this, Carl from gave us an overview of some statistical analysis he'd been doing based on the recent optimism around 3. And there's a number of very interesting results and quirks and things that can be, I think, things where it's possible to make a lot of progress. So I really enjoyed that, especially. Next steps, follow-ups. So we're going to sync with Carl and see how we can work together. We're also going to follow up with the Radical Drips team to hopefully see if we can potentially integrate continuous drip funding into a Filecoin retro PGF round. And finally, the last thing I just wanted to mention is that please come join us and help. We have a FIL Retro PGF channel. Come there for discussions around design and get involved in the implementation. Thanks.
Woohoo!
All right, so we had last but not least the decentralized compute and storage track. First time we focused on the intersection of compute and storage. Started with a workshop where we highlighted the feedback from yesterday's decentralized AI workshops, where we highlighted the different builders. So we started really from the use case perspective to see like what is really driving this demand for decentralized compute. Why? Because we're trying to figure out how can we tie in the decentralized storage stack into those decentralized compute stacks. So we discussed 3 integration points: UX, data path, and payment rails. Then we this was followed by a few amazing presentations by Spheron that focused on a decentralized compute stack. Stability, who's running a platform for AI models. Basically those are users that are building our model, are doing inferencing, and so on. We wanted to learn from them what are their requirements, and what are the use cases that they're currently using these platforms for. Then we had Web3 Mind describe a decentralized compute and storage stack for any ecosystem that wants to bootstrap their network on a platform of providers, and followed by MBD, who was focused on decentralized AI. So basically where you can see and see trends in your community and kind of see customized feeds for, let's say, forecasters. So they have a playground for forecasters, which is very interesting to see what the community is talking about and so on. And we ended with 2 DSA discussions, more specifically how decentralized storage alliance can have more impact on the FIP process, and also what the future of DSA is, meaning how can we move it to the next round in this year. So what did we learn? New AI use cases are driving needs for decentralized compute. Decentralized compute has a 10-to-1 demand supply imbalance. Guess what? That's fantastic, because storage has a 1 to 10 supply imbalance. So naturally, those two have to come together, and we can find a lot of synergies there. New use cases are driving compute. Inferencing is hot today. That's the #1 use case. AI training is not used yet for decentralized compute. That is a long-term opportunity for us. There's a lot of ifs and dependencies, but in the short term, Filecoin is a great archive and backup for snapshots of LLM models and backup of synthetic backups. So data that's being generated. And there's a ton of new solutions out there that are actually focusing on these synthetic backups to improve the models. So this is, again, a perfect example. Also, we talked about demonstrating through maybe selecting a specific use case or sector in how we, meaning the Filecoin ecosystem, can demonstrate the value of having all these public data sets hosted on Filecoin and making that accessible to the research community. And maybe use one of these technology stacks that was presenting earlier. Current compute platforms don't focus on persistent storage. Again, an opportunity to integrate. What we need are the integration points. There's new integration points required at different levels in the stack. I didn't put it in here, but we have a data flow that we discussed. And so there's different parts in the stack, like the marketplaces that are spinning up. We expect thousands of marketplaces. We got to also talk about how does the data that gets ingested in those marketplaces stay composable over time and across these marketplaces. So the data portability was discussed, and of course we want that to be all in a SID and content addressable format. DSA didn't put so much time in it, but we spent 2 hours on that. DSA can have more impact on the FIP process, and we have come back with some tactical next steps. So next steps for the FIL Compute, one feedback as well that I didn't put in here, this could be a full day track next time. So much demand, we had to say no to speakers at the last minute that we couldn't add because we didn't have time.
So lots of interest in this topic. So overall, we need to explore new integration points across the community. So we need to really focus as a team, specifically integrate with decentralized compute platforms and data platforms. So when I say data platforms, like for example, Stability AI is one of them. That's where the models are being generated. That's also where synthetic data gets created. That's where inferencing is done. We should be thinking about a little bit higher in the stack. How can we actually pull those data sets back into Filecoin? I mentioned already, we need to explore synthetic backups, backup of LLMs, and then at the end, DSA, also some very technical, really good feedback, next steps we can take, be more actively involved. So the involvement we've done with a few FIPs was positively received. We need to just even say, for example, hey, 4 members agree with this, 4 members don't agree with that. Even just that simple statement can actually have an impact, because if you don't say anything, you actually don't know if you're for or against. And so actively engaged. We also want to be actively engaged in the FIPS redesign process. And then we want to start computing working groups and recruit compute vendors. That was it. Thank you very much.
Woohoo! And keep the applause going for our amazing track leads, and thanks for organizing all of this.